Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 181 of the 365 Message Center show. Today, we're talking about, we've got a few meetings in Teams announcements about Meet Now and registration page for the Teams meetings. We're also going to talk a little bit about Microsoft Viva. So let's roll it. So,
oh, wrong side. Hang on.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
That'll do.
Okay, well, that was terrible. For everybody on the podcast, anyway, it doesn't matter. Hello, everyone. This is fresh off the Super Bowl. Darrell, I don't think the Super Bowl is a big thing down where you are, right? The American football Super Bowl.
No, there are some American football fans here in New Zealand, but Super Bowl usually talks about Auntie Burgess's big bowl of ambrosia. Yes.
Wow.
It's a dessert.
I got you. So I hope everyone is back to work in America. Traditionally, now we're all working from home anyway, but traditionally this is the day that most people call in sick. Is the day after the Super Bowl, the Monday after Super Bowl, because people partied too hard. But with COVID, I'm pretty sure we're just rolling out of bed and getting to work anyway. So I don't know how you call in sick because you want to stay home. So let's just kind of jump into it. All right, let's jump into the show, and we're working. So should you be, right?
Well, yes, we should be. We should be working.
So the first up, we have the message, get a Meet Now meeting link in Teams. This is MC237392. And this really, for me, felt like, oh, there's that button that we've been missing. For me, to harken back to Skype. And that's kind of like what we've been, that was really one of the cool things I thought I used a lot in Skype was you could meet right now, and it was just really easy to do. It's just click that button and get started with a meeting. And we've been able to do it. It's just having this button, it's kind of, I don't know if it's nostalgia or what it is, but we are in mid-February. So here in a week or so, they'll start rolling this out and should be completed by late February. Being able to click, have a Meet Now button in Teams. And this doesn't have to be a meeting that you want to have right now, even though it says Meet Now. It is, you can get the link and share it with someone later. So it is something to where you can just say, I want a meeting link and I want to share it right now and not have to fire up a meeting invite, for instance, right? You can just click this and get that link and share it with...
Oh, I got a question about that.
I know, your face, for those on the audio, his face was contorted in a way of, Daniel's not telling the truth here.
No, I don't think you are.
Yeah,
no.
So it says...
Only and I'm thinking about user experience that, okay, you can schedule a meeting. We know about that. The Meet Now button is, we're going to meet now. But it looks like what they're introducing is as you're going through that initial let's meet now, you can copy the link and send it on to someone right now. And then when you hit that start the meeting button, then the Meet Now will start.
Yes, if you click the start meeting, the meeting will start. Yes, but you don't have to click that start meeting right now. You can copy the invite, the link, and send it to someone, whether that's via instant message, that's email, that's carrier pigeon, and then wait. See, it says users can choose to copy and share the link in advance, which implies that it's not happening now, right? In advance.
Right. Okay.
So Darrell's face being contorted in a way of Daniel's not telling the truth. Was not true. So
well done, well done. Defend that. Now, does that mean that that link is unique and it will just sit there for the very next time that you hit the start meeting button?
I don't think we have enough information. I think it's
That's
going
the
to.
safe answer.
I think it is a link that's unique to this meeting that you're starting. Yeah, so it's not like a general link for you. And so, like a room that's, just yours that.
Yeah, you remember that with Skype when you could just set up your own persistent link and people could just jump in.
Yeah, and other services do it. There's other online meeting services that have, your own URL. But I think this is just for this meeting. I think there's going to be times when you're wanting to create an email or a meeting invite or something, and you're wanting to do this in a way that it's formatted differently. So this would be a way to send a meeting invite and have it formatted differently. Now, what I feel like, though, is you're going to get yourself in trouble, because when people are going to attend a Teams meeting in their calendar, and there's going to be if it's a Teams invite, then your calendar is going to know it's a Teams. It's going to give you that join button, right? Like in Outlook. But if you send a meeting invite that's like a regular meeting invite, that you've copied this URL and pasted it into the body of the meeting invite, you're not going to get that join button, I don't think.
Yeah, and why would you?
Right. So
I think this is definitely worth testing when it comes out, because my thinking is when you click the Meet Now button, that's when it creates the unique link for that Meet Now. And it's a case of where I wouldn't want to send a meeting invite because that's just too long and laborious. I'm just going to drop it into some chat system somewhere.
That's what
and away we go. But if I come away from that screen and then try to go back to that same Meet Now, I expect that it will probably generate a new link.
I do too. That's what I expect, but it is definitely worth testing. So anyway, February is our date, so it should be completed by late February. Let's get some insights, more insights into Microsoft Teams, Darrell.
Now the Insights app. Let's just say that this message has been in the message center in another form earlier. So that's why it starts with reminder. Insights app in Microsoft Teams will be available starting in February 2021. MC 237630. Why is it a little different now? It's because something was launched last week. Microsoft Viva gave us a lot more insights into the Insights app. Yes, I had to make that joke. But Daniel, it's interestingness. All right. So when we saw it coming through the message center, we could see, yes, it is about bringing in the My Analytics experiences, at least some of them, into Teams, so that we don't have to go to Outlook and open the insights there. It's there, right? And when we go to the My Analytics page, of course, we get that full look and experience. But what's coming into Teams is two experiences, and they were made clear with the announcement of Microsoft Viva and its collection of services. First of all, the Stay Connected app. So that is about nominating the people that you want to stay connected to. You can pin them. You'll be able to see, when was the last time the kind of conversations that you had with them, email, chats, and the like, shared documents, and also you'll get prompts to set up one-on-one meetings with them. So trying to maintain the connections with people that matter to you. And there'll be a lot more there in the Stay Connected tab as time goes on. The second tab will be the Protect Time tab, which is focus time, but in another label. And you will see some prompts there about scheduling focus time for yourself each day throughout the week. And it's just a good place to do that, to make sure that you can. I know that those two things are useful. I certainly use focus time. I don't really look at the insights from Outlook, but will I do that from Teams now that it's going to be there as an app? What do you think, Daniel?
Maybe. And I think there's people are having a little bit of hard time, not a hard time, it's just a little tougher to grasp some of these wellness type of things that we're getting exposed to. I'm not saying they're bad. In fact, I think they're good. It's just a little harder for us to grasp what it is and what it's doing and the benefits, because it's not something that's going to be tabulated, really. And so I think what we're going to see is that these apps, I don't feel like are going to be home runs for Microsoft, but I think they will score runs. So I'm giving analogy in baseball terms, but I feel like they will give us a lot of benefit. I'm just not sure it's going to be the most popular app ever, but it will be something that is used and brings benefit. I hope I expressed I like it. It's just, I don't think everybody's going to herald it. I think it's going to be one of those things that people use and get benefit from and kind of move on through their day. The thing that I am getting a little worried about, and I don't know how worried I am, but I'm getting a little worried, is that we're getting too many apps in Teams. And I'm not sure, I don't think we're there yet. It's just, I'm seeing this on the horizon that we're going to be getting all of these apps, and eventually we're going to have to hide them behind, the add apps, the ellipsis, kind of the more apps, I guess, menu. I just feel like on the rail, there's going to be too many things there eventually. If we're pinning our own stuff, Viva is going to be bringing separate items coming. We're going to talk about that. And then as an organization, we may pin other things on there, our home site, and as well as our own custom apps, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's actually with this, the thing that I'm worried about is how many is going to be too many when we get apps on our rail for our users and teams. But for this specifically, I really do think people are going to use it and get benefit out of it.
Yeah. It is, I know the analogy that's often used when they talk about my analytics over the years has been it's the Fitbit for work. And just like a Fitbit or just like a smartwatch that tells you how you're doing, it's only any good if you look at it and check out those insights. So this is going to be the thing about it. Now, maybe just while you're talking about how this thing will be rolled out and where it will appear on the app bar, that is something that's quite different to the way other apps have been rolled out in the past. Initially, and this is part of the reason for the reminder that initially in February, it is going to be available for people to go into the app store, catalog, whatever they call it, and say, I want to install it for my experience. And from there, great, you could look at it from the ellipsis menu, or if you wanted to, you can pin it there for yourself to the app rail, app bar, left hand navigation app, something. I've seen that mentioned so many different ways. And this is from a guy who writes instructions for people to, always looking for, how does Microsoft talk about this now? Maybe I should align with that today. Now that's how it will appear in February, and in March it will be automatically installed if you haven't already done so, but it will sit underneath that ellipsis, the 3 dots menu, and again it'll be over to you whether you pin it or not. Over above all of this, of course, your admins can go in and they can use a policy to pin the app and to install it and add it to the growing list of applications on the app bar. So that's how it'll roll out. And it'll be there. I think, look, it's probably worth another discussion as we do a deeper dive into other things Viva, because we won't try and do that now. That would be silly. But there's lots of different openings for how once it is an app, adoption can be driven for something like this. And we've seen that transition for even the Yammer Communities app, where now they've got notifications in the activity feed. So maybe we'll see notifications in there for insights. So that's how it's rolling out. And, it'll be complete by end of April after those 2 phases of February and March. And Daniel, there's something around saying goodbye to something rather than saying hello.
It's so hard. So we're saying goodbye to Microsoft.
That was Boys to Men, right?
It was Microsoft Edge, but I didn't want to keep singing it because then we get a copyright infringement, and yeah,
because it's so accurate and close to the real thing.
All right, so new details. Microsoft Edge legacy support to end on March 9th, 2021, MC 237900. So this is all about the Microsoft Edge, the old version, the legacy version, not the new one, the Chromium version. This is the old version. The support will end on March 9th. This is something that I think is great. And most people are like, yay, because the new version is so much better. The problem is that legacy was installed on a bunch of machines and most people didn't uninstall it. It's still there. And so what's going to happen is Microsoft is going to take care of that for you. So they're going to roll out an update that will remove the legacy app. So the Microsoft Edge legacy. So it'll be part of the Windows 10 cumulative monthly security update that'll be rolling out. So you can install the update yourself if you want to go ahead and get it. But it is something that if you don't, and when it's installed, then you will have to, then you'll see it, that'll be replaced. So the April 13th is when they're going to roll out the update. Update Tuesday, April 13th is when they're going to actually roll it out and force the removal of the app. The other thing I wanted to mention on this real quick is that in the message it talks about kiosk mode. If you're using explicitly you're using Edge Legacy in kiosk mode, then you're going to need to set it up again in the new Edge. So it won't do that. None of this process is going to carry over those settings. So you're going to need to do those settings yourself manually. So there's
That's good to know. It's not going to break your kiosk.
Yeah. So just know that I think what you really need to do is take a look at, there's a lot of information here in this message, from a change management aspect, from an education customer aspect. That is one thing. Another thing I want to point out is just that there's additional configuration that will be required. So as an IT admin, you definitely need to check out all these links. If you're not an IT admin, make sure you get this information to your IT admin, just to make sure that all your stuff is going to continue to work. And if not, then what kind of remediation steps that need to be taken. But I'm excited that they're finally getting rid of it. In fact, I probably still have it on a few machines of my own. So this is something that I'm liking, but just know that it's going to be happening very, very soon. Speaking of saying things to people, like saying things to people. Yes, we said goodbye to Edge Legacy, but we're going to say hello to people that register.
Yes, we are.
See how I did that? That was a good transition, wasn't it?
That was, so smooth. I think that's part of the entertaining factor of our show is how great we are at transitions. Yeah. Introducing a registration page for Microsoft Teams meetings, MC 237807. This is a surprise to me, not so much the feature, because it was talked about at the last Microsoft Ignite. That's how we refer to Microsoft Ignites now, because we'll have 2 of them a year. This initially was talked about as being a way for people to register for webinars, and maybe I made a mistake here. I thought it was just about live events, but of course webinars can be run using regular meetings, private meetings that are in real time, and they give you a few more interactive aspects of it than the buffered delay of a live meeting. So custom registration page. So that means that you can set up that page and people can go to it and register for that meeting or that webinar. And the key thing around this too is that when you do configure it as a meeting organizer, you have to do this from your Teams desktop app or from the Teams web app. It's not something you can do from your mobile. You'll have to go through and do it that way. Meeting organizers will also, if they're trying to organize a meeting with people from outside of your organization and they want to expose that registration page, they'll have to contact their Microsoft 365 admin to grant them permission to create pages that do this. And this is a PowerShell thing. Once again, maybe we'll see a UI eventually. But there's a few things in the policy, like allow meeting registration has to be enabled. Who can register? Its default is set to everyone in your organization, a bit like when you share files, everyone in my organization. But this one needs to be set to everyone. And there's something else here in this message too. It almost feels incomplete. So I used the great little feature at the bottom of our message center messages of like or don't like. And I sent something through. It says, well, this third thing apparently that you need to do to prepare, it says set the something to enabled, disabled. By default, this setting is enabled. You see what I'm saying there, Daniel?
It's a ghost setting. Yeah, there's nothing there. It says set the to enabled, disabled. Set the...
Yep. Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
Well, anyway, it's going to be rolling out in early March. Maybe during the week, we'll see what that third thing is that we need to set. But you'll probably find that... Well, look, I couldn't even find it by going through to some of those other policy PowerShell pages that it mentions down below.
Yeah.
But it will be complete by early April and available for us to use. I think it's a good feature to gather interest and point people to an event and be still leveraging Microsoft Teams as your webinar meeting infrastructure.
All right.
Yeah. Well, that brings us into quick mentions, doesn't it, Daniel?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So tell us about the iPad, sir, the Office app.
Yeah. Look, I've been using the Office app on my iPhone for some time, and I did try to install it on the iPad. And its, default state is we're going to flip you around to portrait mode. We're going to double the size of it, and it's going to look ugly as something.
Yep.
As a non-optimized app. Well, good news, it will be optimized. It is going to be released in a form that actually is great for the iPad. So looking forward to that. And that was, and look, I haven't even mentioned the number here. Sorry about that, people. I'll just take a close look at Daniel's version on the screen. MC237384.
Your head got really big.
It did. It did. But I had to I'm an old person. I'm looking at this. Sorry.
Nice.
Sorry, people.
Nice. So,
yeah.
Nice. So that's 237384. Yeah.
That's the one.
And it's you said mid-February, right? Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said, mid-February. Thank you for doing that for me.
So another quick mention before we get to Microsoft Viva is this change coming to your Power Automate service, MC237447. Real quick, basically you were able to previously open up a ticket and with Microsoft and it be for support, but it be either technical or advisory. Meaning advisory is kind of this, I need help understanding what to do in this case or how to use this. Not it's broken. That's technical support. And so what they're going to do from starting March 1st, they're going to allow customers to submit support cases for advisory issues, but only according to their support plan. So there's two plans that you can use. You can have a professional direct plan or a unified contract. A unified contract that depends upon your agreements with Microsoft. Okay, so but the professional direct is, last time I looked, $9 per user per month, and it's kind of a premium support option where you can open up tickets and get advisory. How do I do this? What would be the best method? those kind of questions. So just letting you know that if you open up a ticket, there's going to be starting now, and they're going to ask you a question kind of in there, an extra one to try to understand, is this technical or is this advisory? And then it may give you a warning if it's determined it's advisory and you don't have a support plan. So that's what's going on there. So I think, do we want to do our callback first?
Yeah, let's just do that really quickly. And it is just more of a reminder that Skype for Business is on the way out. So take a look at MC237645. I believe that was, so that's there. So that's just talking about how we've got 6 months till Skype for Business Online is on the move. And so if you haven't already engaged and started to plan to shift to Microsoft Teams, and you get out of that island mode and you get into Teams only mode, and that's, if you are using Skype for Business Online, then that should all be well underway. For those of you who are still using Skype for Business on-prem, of course, you've got a bit more control over that, about how you transition and when. But if you're Skype for Business Online, get a move on. 6 months to go.
That's right. So that brings us to kind of our, the next thing we want to talk about, which if you've, lived under a rock or haven't been paying attention, Microsoft announced on February 4th, there was an event to talk about this new thing called Viva, V-I-V-A. And it is about employee experience and engagement is what they're kind of calling it. And it's broken up into really 4 categories. And I don't know if they call them pillars, how we're supposed to, talk about that, but it's connections, insights, learning, and topics.
They're experiences, Daniel.
But they're experiences. That's right.
And they are apps.
Yes. So let's kind of talk about a little bit on overall thoughts on this, Darrell. What are your overall, going through that event and watching the videos, announcements, and understanding what's going on? What are your overall kind of thoughts of Viva?
Well, I will also drop a little card there at the top there that'll go to a short video of a simple explainer. My initial impressions of Viva were, I can recognize some pieces of what's already there in Microsoft 365. I can see SharePoint, I can see Yammer, I can see a few other things there too. And we've already talked on the show today about My Analytics coming into being insights. But we also see some hints towards things that had been promised a little while ago. Project Cortex talked about being able to have topic pages. We've already seen Syntax with its other focus on business documents, but Cortex also had this topics page, and that was something that we were looking towards. The Learning app, which was talked about in June last year, and that it was addressing the needs of trying to get people upskilled and make that part of a team experience so that managers can assign things to people and you can discuss your learning with other colleagues and team members as you're doing that. So mixed impressions here. And I'm actually leaning more towards the positive, because when I see the services that have already been in Microsoft 365 being reshaped, sure, Microsoft Viva, it's a brand, it's a collection of products, but it actually, for me, where I'm going to interact with it is within Teams. And I probably won't even think Viva. I'll just think insights, connections, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, what you said is kind of right on par with what I was thinking. I recognize some of the technology that's driving some of this, and I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. I just, I noticed that, SharePoint, when we're talking about connections, that's SharePoint, that's Yammer, bringing in that information, that connection points into Teams, right? The topics, yes, and most certainly recognized Cortex and with that technology underpinning and SharePoint syntax. Viva learning, I recognize that as being something that learning pathways kind of started that collection of materials, videos, and walkthroughs of information, and making those available to your users without them having to go search for it. Right? I need to find content that has to do with a specific thing I'm looking for, how to share externally. I'm just throwing that out there. How do I do that rather than them having to go hunt, do their search via their favorite search engine and find a video that show. We make that all provided to them. And so Viva Learning, I think, is kind of a version 2 for me. It's not what Microsoft's calling it, but it's kind of the version 2 of this goal that Learning Pathways has of bringing those resources into your users. And so what this is doing is not just making those Microsoft resources available, but it's also third-party resources. So there's some highlights of other platforms like Pluralsight and others that you can plug into. And then also they talked about how you can plug into third-party apps for LMS. Those are learning management systems, meaning I want my users to watch this content and make sure they actually, took part in that content so that we're all up to the same level of how to use Office or how to use Teams or whatever. Get that training so we're all on par. And we've talked a lot about insights already in the episode today, but so I feel like I see what's the technology that's underneath there. And while it is familiar, meaning some of it's new and some of it's not, but that doesn't make me less excited about this being brought to us as apps that we can easily use in Teams, that we can easily get to our users. So that's kind of how I felt about it.
I know that we plan to deep dive on some of these things, and we'll do it with a few friends at Regarding 365 as well over a few discussions, because it is definitely worth talking about. I think the key differences for me in what we currently have and what we were promised, and what has been, I guess, delayed while they positioned it for Viva, is it is about how we transition between these tools. And there was this goal quite a way back about, wouldn't it be great if we could just use a tool and transition to another tool, not really even think about that it's a tool, but we're just there and we're clicking into that experience and we're using it. And it's kind of starting to happen there in Teams, though we are a little concerned about the number of apps in there. The other thing about this is, while it is a reframing of some of what we've already got, there's also a lot of intelligence now being put in behind that. And I think we'll see more of that as an experience when we see the mobile apps coming through too. That it's suggesting connections, it's suggesting content that you might want to look at for learning. Topics is a topic in itself, but it certainly is going to help people find knowledge easier and be able to participate in that curation process at different levels. I just think it's something that we could continue to talk, and this show would continue to go on. There's just a lot to talk about.
Yeah, and we're not even pretending like we're trying to cover Viva in this show. That's not the intent. We just wanted to give us some of that high level thoughts and some of our insights, no pun intended, on where this is going to be and how we're going to see this coming through. Of course, I think as these items start to roll out, we're going to be covering it on the show as we do about all items that are coming through to your tenants that we feel are important. So we're going to be covering these more. This is not the last time we're talking about it, but
one of those things, Daniel, and I know it's out there in the community at the moment, you can get a trial of topics. So that's something that maybe you and I can have a closer look at. Trial will be available for a period of time, 30 days or so, but yeah, there's a monthly price after that.
Yep. So again, we didn't cover Viva all the way through, but hopefully you've got a little bit of information, know what it is, and know that what our thoughts are on high level. But I'm excited to see how organizations are going to be using it in conjunction with what they're already doing. I don't see it as something that is taking, it's not going to replace everything that you're doing right now in your organization, right? It's going to, and so how are your organizations going to use this functionality and this technology to better what you're doing? Hurry up and get the job done, do the job well, and then move on.
Bringing those things together, isn't it? Because that connections demo that we see is there's a SharePoint site involved. In fact, isn't it called the SharePoint Home? That's what it was talked about beforehand. You're still going to need a site behind that. It's not just going to look great and have all that information sorted there. And then the role of Yammer, it's some organizations don't use it, but it seems to be quite important for topics and identifying who are the experts that are talking about things. So, yeah, I think I'm looking forward to talking a bit more about this with other people and seeing how it plays out.
Yeah, me too. Well, that is our show, episode 181. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We hope you are, for those in the U.S., you're recovered from Super Bowl. And I hope I don't get in trouble for saying Super Bowl. Apparently, it's a trademark. So let's make sure we don't put that down in the notes. But anyway, thank you, everyone, for joining us. Darrell, thank you, as always, for joining from down under-ish.
Well, hey. Yep. No, it's always good to connect and keep talking about this sort of stuff. Yeah. Thanks to everyone who joined us live in the chat room too. Yes. And we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.